Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andres and today I'll be talking about the second book in the Murderbot Diary series, Artificial Condition. These books are very short, they're around 160 pages. They're set in kind of like a sci-fi, dystopian, very hyper, ultra-capitalistic world. It seems to be mostly run by corporations. This is written in the first person by the titular Murderbot. And this second book specifically, I'll give a short plot and I'll go over my initial impressions and probably dive deeper into like more spoilery stuff afterwards. But the basic premise of this book is it takes place right after Murderbot runs away from the preservation company that basically freed him. And he's essentially trying to figure out why he became rogue. So a few years ago, he knows that there was like this kind of like massacre that he did or was a part of where he killed many humans. In the series, they call it going rogue for robots or for constructs, as they call them. He wants to figure out why he did that because his memory was cleared after it. And so he's going to the planet where this happened, to the mining facility where it happened. And along the way, he meets some interesting characters, a very funny character that I'm sure is a fan favorite called Art, that is a research transport bot that controls like a research transport like a vessel, a spaceship that he like befriends, and they have this kind of love-hate relationship along the way that's really entertaining. And he meets other characters that are going to this mining facility planet. Yeah, that's the basic premise. I'm not gonna go too much deeper into it because I don't really want to spoil the story. My initial impressions of the book is I really like this book. I think it's on par as the first one. The dialogue, as usual, very funny. The world building, there's not a lot of world building. It's mostly world building through because this is all in first person, so he doesn't like go out of his way, Murderbot or Martha Wells, to like explain the inner workings of the world. You get more of a vibe of things. You can, if you've also read or watch a lot of sci-fi, a lot of like Blade Runner, stuff like that. That's how where my mind goes, or like Alien, the Alien movies. That's where I think about like colonies and stuff like that. So there is some light world building, but for the most part, it's very focused on the narrative at hand. The strengths of the book are in the character of Murderbot. He might not be everyone's cup of tea, like this kind of like self-deprecating, like socially anxious construct that is just trying to figure things out along the way. Might not be for everyone, but if you feel you read the first book and you liked it, you're gonna like this one as well. I really like this book. I find the main character very relatable. Only thing is, I would say my only critique is I thought that I'm not gonna say specifically what happens in the story, but there's some plot elements that I thought would go further, I guess, or deeper, that as at least as of now it seems like they're kind of closed by the end of the book. So that would be my only critique, that I'm kind of just left wondering where do we go from here. But besides that, it's just an enjoyable light read. The writing is really straightforward. I don't think you'll be confused too much by what's going on. So if you're just looking for a light read in between other like heavier series, this is a perfect series. And the second book is a great book to read, obviously after reading the first one, because the first one's a required reading. Now I want to dive into a little bit of spoiler territory, so just, make sure, I guess, if you don't want to be spoiled of any specific plot elements, keep that in mind. The specific things I kind of was confused on is we find out in the story he ends up going to the mining facility, which I was surprised by how fast we got there. I honestly thought we would get there by the third or fourth book, where he would literally go and finally get to find out what's going on. But these are novellas, so it makes sense that they're very fast paced. We're in the second book and then we already know, bam, what's going on. And we find out that it wasn't like someone hacked to purposefully make him attack people, or that there was some malfunction in his brain that caused it. It turns out that another mining company in this facility hacked the services and kind of messed up. It was supposed to, the malware was supposed to go to the trucks that were, I guess, moving the haulers, I think they call them, that move the minerals and stuff. but instead it went into all the sec units or murder bots, and it made them go haywire and start killing everyone. And it turned out that the comfort units, or as he very crassly calls them, sex bots, were the ones that kind of saved the day and sacrificed themselves in this facility to kind of end this and like kind of shut off the malware and shut off all the sec units. It was interesting because I thought, I don't know, maybe I'm just so used to a lot of TV, sci-fi TV, where it was going to be a big conspiracy plot line where he would keep having to dive deeper and deeper. And in turn, it, at least as of now, that might happen. But at least as of now, it seems like, oh no, it was just kind of like a fuck up from another company. And it doesn't seem like he's going to look into that any further. Things get pretty conclusive by the end. So as I said, I'm kind of left wondering, where do we go from here? Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'll be interested to read the third book to see if we start a new big plot line. The other thing is there's a separate character that's a comfort unit. He basically saves by the end. I wonder if she might be a recurring character. I'm not sure. I could see it happening where she just comes back in other books because she seems to now be free, just like he is. I think one interesting commentary I want to say about his perspective on things, about the Murderbot's perspective, is he seems to look down upon, at least in the beginning of this book and in the previous book, he seems to really look down upon sex bots and sees them as inferior than sec units, which I thought was interesting. And I think it's done on purpose, maybe as commentary on, like, he has a very male perspective of the world, I would say. So he looks down upon like sex work and things like that. So just an interesting detail, I think, that I noticed. But then by the end, maybe he might be getting more respect from them because he finds out that the comfort units in the mining facility were the ones that saved the day. And then he finds out, he like interacts maybe for the first time, like, you know, without any control from the government module with another with that comfort unit that he frees, and that might give him a new perspective. It does seem that as he's going along, he's learning, in some ways becoming more human, and I do wonder how his progression will keep going as we go on from book to book. I'm assuming we are probably, at some point, he's probably going to go back to the preservation company, to Mensa and the people from the first book, and they might not recognize the kind of the human he is. I think in a big question that's being asked by Martha Wells to a degree is like, what makes up a human? We see him, who's a construct, who's supposed to be, essentially people view him as a robot, and we also see Art, which I just love that character. I loved all the emotional stuff with him being heartbroken when he was watching TV. And it also gives a perspective of like, I could see the humans in this world being completely oblivious of all this stuff happening behind the scenes, of like, I could see the people that work in Art's like research unit not know why, like not know anything about Art besides him just helping them out with the research. They might think he's just this AI that helps them out, and they don't know the full extent of like humanity to some degree he has in him. So a lot of fun commentary if you really want to dig into it. But Martha Wells does a really good job at like giving you this like straightforward plot line, fun characters, fun dialogue, and but giving you some meat in the bone, I guess, to look into if you want to dig deeper. But yeah, overall, I really like this book. I am excited to read the next one. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about Artificial Condition and the first book. And if you've read on, like, do you recommend me to keep reading? Or do you think like it goes through a slump, or does it get better? So yeah, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.